stunning looks than swift.
4 weeks and 6 games later, England finally get the W. And they do it in such a commanding fashion that they will ensure that they finally lift themselves up above the foot of the table. A resounding victory for England against Netherlands. And it's time to look back on the contest from Pune. Welcome to Maruti Suzuki Arena, presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Qatar Airways. England opted to bat first, knowing that they need a win to keep their Champions Trophy hopes alive, and they were rampant with the bat. 339 for 9 looks extraordinary on paper, but they did have their trouble. They were 190 for 6 around the 35th over before Ben Stokes hit his first ever World Cup 100. Good support from Chris Woakes, and there was a half-century earlier for David Malan. Netherlands, in reply, were always behind the mark, 23 for 2 at the end of the power play. But they were still looking like they will bat out the 50, 163 for 5 in 33.4 overs. But before we knew it, 22 balls later, the game was done. England spinners finally coming to the party. Moeen Ali with his first wickets of this World Cup, and 3 each for him and Adil Rashid. England winning by 160, which is quite the ideal number, because Steve Harmison here in our studio said 100 runs. Niall O'Brien, who has been gracing us on his 42nd birthday, had said 60 runs, and England combined your totals together, 160, and the kind of game you would expected to see them play.
Yeah, it was a game that you expected England to win, but with the confidence levels that England were at, you always worried that there was a potential banana skin, waiting for England to slip up. It was a thoroughly, as the cliche goes, the thoroughly professional performance. Didn't always have it their own way, but when it come to the ball, I thought they attacked the power play brilliantly. In this tournament so far, there has been that 45-minute period when the second power play, lights take effect, 2 brand new balls. There is a little bit of lateral movement, and I think David Willey and Chris Woakes have exploited that very, very well. And by the end of the power play, the Netherlands were out of the contest. And like Niall said earlier on, we talk about the sort of associated nations, the emerging nations coming into it, extreme pace, a quality spin, and then once the power play had gone, there's no much more quality than Moeen Ali and Adil Rashid. They were magnificent for England.
Now, before we start looking into the specifics, if you look at Netherlands, yes, the result says 160, but really it's 2 bad bursts of 5 to 6 overs that have led to that margin, because there were 90 runs conceded in the last 6 overs when England were batting, and even while chasing, while they may not have been in the run chase, at 163 for 5 and 33 overs, you would have thought, okay, fine, they might bat themselves to around 260, 270 and make this look like a credible defeat. But just those 2 bursts and it starts looking quite bad.
Yeah, I think that final kind of 6-7 overs with the bat for England pushed that score really out of the limits and out of the reach of the Netherlands. 340 was always going to be a huge total to try and chase down. So I think once England got to that massive score, Netherlands, their chances of getting victory got lesser and lesser. With the bat in hand, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Maybe got to a respectable loss. I don't really like that kind of attitude in terms of associate cricket at World Cups. I think that the time has kind of gone for that message to be put out. Long time ago, a credible loss against a major nation like England, you walked off the field. Well, some sides walked off the field and said, oh, we lost to England, or we lost to Pakistan or Australia by 60 or 70 runs. We can be proud of our efforts. Actually, I think the attitude now has changed. Now the associate game, teams are trying to win at all costs. So the fact that the game kind of got away from Netherlands so quickly, the back end chasing obviously a big score, I'm not that surprised. So I like the fact that they went down all guns blazing, as it were. But they were pretty much outclassed today, Netherlands, for large parts. They did a lot of good things. But I thought England with the ball, good to see spinners operating. We were critical of Moeen Ali before the game. He stepped up and bowled well. And I thought England bowled nicely with the new ball as well. You know, David Willey, no contract, retired. You know, he still puffs his chest out and gives everything for the England colours, which is a real credit to David Willey, actually, because it could have been very easy for David Willey to sulk into a corner and this World Cup to die at a bit of a whimper for him. But he's kept his professional standards extremely high.
Just on the Netherlands batting point, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Niall, but while they did go in a blaze towards the end, didn't the first 30 overs of this innings suggest the kind of batting template that you perhaps don't want to see? Because 23 for 2 at 10, you look through that middle order, Engelbrecht 33 of 49, Scott Edwards 38 of 42. It did look like the kind of innings for the first 30, at least from the outside, where it seemed like they're trying to bat out the 50 overs?
No, I think they had a terrible power play. You know, 20 odd off 10 overs is just not acceptable. There wasn't a great deal of shots in anger, but like Max O'Dowd's had an awful tournament. He's a good cricketer, Max O'Dowd. He's quite limited in where he scores his runs. And when they're playing the odd ODI international against certain teams in Netherlands, or you know, the odd series against a side, maybe the homework isn't as precise as it would be for a World Cup. So Max O'Dowd hits a lot of ball, stays leg side, hits the ball through the offside. Teams have cotton onto that. He just hasn't got going, and he is normally a player that can get on the front foot. And Vikramjit Singh, who's had a poor World Cup as well. So the power play really did set them back. I think ideally what they wanted to try and set themselves up to launch later on, but they need wickets in hand, and they needed someone like a Baz de Leede to have a platform and really get going. Ackerman going for a duck was a massive loss. A beautiful ball, you know, just a little bit of shape in and then just seamed away. Nothing Colin Ackerman could do. You know, he strolled off, and you know, one of those is a batter. You think nothing I could do about that. So I think ideally what they wanted to do was get a decent power play, get as close to England's power play as possible, but that just didn't happen. They were always behind the 8 ball, and really, England never let them off the hook. Actually, credit England's professionalism.
Yeah. So let's dive into that England bowling effort, and let's start from the top. Willian Wokes, 2 for 23 in the first 10, and it's not just this game. We've seen that as the one big improvement in England in the back half of this campaign. The first 4 games in the power play, they'd only taken 6 wickets and averaged nearly 50, gone at nearly 7 and over. You look at the last 4 games now, they've managed to take 2 wickets each time, average just about 20, conceding just about 4 and over.
Yeah, they've done. I think when you dissect what's happened with England, you'll look at the bat, not fire and not the ball. Even when they got beat off India, you know, we bowled India out for 225. So you know, you look at it that way. You think the ball has fired more often than the bat. Perfect conditions for Willian Wokes. They really were. If you want any conditions for any sideways movement or lateral movement, it was going off the seam. It was going in the air. It was actually, you know, sometimes for the first over and a bit for Chris Wokes, it was actually going too much. The ball was swinging that much, the batter couldn't get anywhere near it. So I think when you put all that together, it was another good new ball spell from Chris Wokes and David Willey against a team who I don't think we're ever going to come back and throw punches. I know Max O'Dowd, that's his game and that's his shot, but when the ball's swinging away from you that much, it did look like an associated nation playing against a top nation, and I say that with all due respect to Holland and their players. But England haven't performed like that consistently throughout the tournament, and that's why they're second bottom or third bottom in the league. So I think all in all, it's an encouraging signs for England, encouraging performance for England, but I think it just papers over a little bit of the cracks of what the tournament's been. They need to be like that against Pakistan in the next game to make sure they definitely qualify for the Champions Trophy.
We spoke in the first innings about how the 2 men who made it happen were perhaps the guys who will be phased out of the ODI side after the World Cup in Malan and Stokes. Even with the ball, if you look at those power play stars, don't know about Chris Wokes, but David Willey doesn't even have a contract.
Yeah, he doesn't have a contract, and like Niall was saying, he's never let England down, as David Willey never does. He always seems to be the one that, if we are struggling for numbers, if we're struggling to find a way of getting into a team or into an 11, he's the one that misses out. We're struggling to find an extra man for a squad for Jofra Archer in 2019. David Willey's the one that misses out. So unfortunately, that's the nature of it. I understood the non-contract bit because the age he's at, where his career's at, and where England are potentially going after this tournament. But Wokes will be going the same way. Two characters for me who are great characters, Chris Wokes and David Willey. Two characters who never let you down, give you everything they possibly have. Sometimes that's not good enough, sometimes it is good enough. Chris Wokes with the bat and with the ball today performed. And David Willey again, he'll feel hard done by in his career when it ends, eventually, from his whole career ending when it comes to international stuff. But I think some of the stuff he's been dealt with have not always been in his control.
Well, after the Pacers did the job, there was a period of rebuilding for Netherlands, but that really quick finish was heralded through the spinners. Moeen Ali didn't have a wicket before this World Cup. He took 3, Adil Rashid took 3. What is it that worked for them?
Well, an associate side, first of all, playing quality wrist spin is extremely difficult because you do not come up against top class wrist spin on a regular occurrence. I'm thinking off the top of my head, the associate level. Sandeep Lamachane from Nepal is obviously a top class leg spinner. You go to the likes of Ireland, Scotland, Netherlands, obviously themselves. There's not the high end wrist spin, so you're not coming up against that kind of quality on a regular basis. So all of a sudden, you get on the surface, and actually it was a pretty good surface tonight. It gave a little bit to the bowlers as well under the lights, which has pleased me actually. The pitches haven't just been flat tracks. The bowlers can get a bit out of it, especially under the night sky. Adil Rashid has got a brilliant googly that's very hard to pick. So Netherlands struggle against Rashid, and when you got Rashid bowling one end potentially, then you feel like you've got to go after maybe the finger spin option, which you feel technically might be an easier option to try and take down as a batter, because you're saying to yourself, I don't know which way the leg is going, I don't know which way the ball is turning, so scoring against him is going to be difficult, trying to take him downtown when you need 8, 10, 11 and over. So I'll go against the off spinner, Moeen Ali, which should be easier, and that plays into the finger spinner's hands when you've got a batter coming against you trying to attack you. So complementing each other well, as all good spin bowling duos do. One's a good aggressive wrist spinner, one a very accurate finger spinner who gets a good rev on the ball and a bit of overspin and a bit of bounce. So nice to see Mo bounce back with wickets. We wanted him, we asked him this morning, a long time ago, to get wickets and get his tournament up and running, and he obliged.
He did, and the thing, I'll throw it back to Niall. And we've talked about David Willey, contract potentially gone. Talked about players at the end of this tournament who are potentially going and moved aside for younger models. And I think we've got quite a few bases covered. The one person we haven't got covered is Adil Rashid. As good as Rian Ahmed is, I honestly, you look at the next person coming in from Adil Rashid and you think, this is going to be some shoes to fill.
Yeah,
and it's going to be interesting just to chuck in on that. Rehan Ahmed, I watch him a lot of county cricket, and I see him moving forward being a batter who bowls wrist spin. Watching him at county cricket, he's a very talented batter. You look at someone like Will Jacks as an off-spinning option to probably take over from Moeen Ali. Wonderful batter, Will Jacks, and bowls useful off-spin. Took 6 for on his Test debut in Pakistan last winter. But wrist spin in England. So how Luke Wright, the selector, and Rob Key and the white ball captain Joss Butler, they manage Adil Rashid to get potentially a T20 World Cup, a Champions Trophy out of him, and see how the longevity is for Adil Rashid. How far can he go? Can they stretch him to the next T20 World Cup whilst he's playing various other franchise leagues? If not, they need to start putting some big emphasis in Rehan Ahmed or other wrist spinners they see coming through the county system. So I reckon if you're the spin bowling coach for England, you've got a bit of work to do.
You must like the Irish optimism there. He's already counting the Champions Trophy down.
Yeah, I know. I think we're getting the Champions Trophy now. I'm hoping we're getting the Champions Trophy now. Rashid's got a 2-year contract, so to see him going through to the Champions Trophy, but boy, that's going to be some shoes to fill, because from Adil Rashid, in world cricket is one of the most potent operators of any team, of anybody around the world. He is high class.
Yeah, it will be big shoes to fill. The names you just heard, Rehan Ahmed, Will Jacks, we might hear a lot of them as England potentially go into overhaul mode in ODIs. Why is there so much optimism about the Champions Trophy? A look at the points table will tell you that, because England have managed to climb up a spot thanks to the margin of this victory. And not just one spot, they go from 10th all the way up, skyrocketing to 7th, a big net run rate boost thanks to that 160-run win. And now that means that if you look at that chasing pack, it's still number 8, the Champions Trophy qualification, and Bangladesh have Australia to play, Sri Lanka play New Zealand on Thursday, and Netherlands have a game which might not be the easiest to close out the league phase against India and Bangalore. So things look bright for England.
They look bright. They also look, I think, whoever decided from the ICC, to drop in halfway through this tournament, that the Champions Trophy qualification in 2025 is the top 8 teams, was an absolute masterstroke. Because now there's something on this last week. This last week has got, it's got everything. I mean, the whole shooting match is on for teams to finish in the top 8 and the teams to finish 4th. And there could be a massive surprise, because you could potentially have Afghanistan finishing 4th and England finishing 9th, which would be obviously be a massive swing and a massive surprise. But you know, with the way the games are played against each other, none of the big ones are playing each other to finish 4th, and none of the bottom teams are playing each other to finish obviously in the top 8. So yeah. I think it's got everything that we all wanted to keep the tournament alive with a week to go.
Yeah, we've got a game coming up tomorrow which will have everyone from 4 to 10, 7 teams keyed in, because everyone's fortunes are affected in some way or the other. Niall, just a closing thought on Netherlands. As much as this is a heavy defeat, they get to close out their campaign playing India in Bangalore, Bangalore being the place where they started this campaign with they had an extended training camp. What would be your words to that dressing room right now, just to buck them up before that final outing?
Well, I think they can be proud of their efforts so far in the tournament. They've had a wonderful 6 weeks, 7 weeks. They've added a huge amount of enjoyment to all the fans, neutral and Dutch. But most importantly, their skill level generally has been to a very high standard. So they can be mightily impressed and mightily proud of their efforts so far. When you go to a World Cup as an associate side, you're going to get a couple of drubbings, and that's just the nature of the beast. You're coming up against better teams in the main nearly every time, so you have to accept you only get 2 or 3 absolute drubbings. But the key is to keep enjoying yourself, keep working hard, and when you get a chance in the match, when you get that opportunity to maybe turn over a major nation, you capitalise and you enjoy the ups and the downs, and you enjoy the country for what it is. It's a wonderful part of the world, India, and a lot of these Dutch players, they'll be going back to do various things after this tournament, maybe playing club cricket in Melbourne. Engelbrecht will be going back to work in Amsterdam. Logan van Beek will go back to working, playing first-class cricket in New Zealand, most likely. So, you got India. It's going to be 45,000 at the Chinnaswamy. It's a great venue. There'll be a wonderful atmosphere. Go out and showcase your skills. And for someone like a Paul van Meekeren, or maybe a Bas de Leede, don't forget, in 6 weeks' time, there's an IPL auction. So you go and get 4 or 5 wickets against India at the Chinnaswamy or Bas de Leede. You pump India for 100. Hey, your bank account might be looking a little bit better next year.
Perspective done perfectly from Niall O'Brien. Netherlands, you have a lot to look forward to ahead of that last game, which will also close out the league phase. That does it from us, and as of 4:07 p.m. UK time, Niall O'Brien, you are a free man to enjoy the rest of your birthday evening. A very happy birthday once again to you from all of us. Thank you for your company through this day. Steve, seeing you again soon. We've got a good game to look forward to. Hope you get a good night's sleep. Thank you for your time and efforts. That does it from us. The ESPN Cricinfo mobile app. You will get the lowdown on everything, what the thoughts from the players, Ben Stokes getting a Player of the Match award, and also talking about how he did never intend to leave the camp and go early. All the thoughts and all the analysis from England versus Netherlands, the ESPN Cricinfo mobile app will have you covered. We will be back here just before toss time on Thursday afternoon. Be sure to join us then on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, powered by Qatar Airways.
stunning looks than swift.